One. Hey guys, and welcome back to the Fantasy Table, brought to you by the Blue Stable. We are back. I know we took last week off. I know I mentioned it in the week before, but I was still trying to edit wedding photos. I'm almost done. I still got like a handful left to do. And Theo also with school had midterms, so I know a lot of people who are watching this probably knows how that is. So it was kind of a needed break for us, but we're back and ready to go. So Theo, how you doing?
I'm doing great, except for my fantasy teams. But um, yeah, it's a very interesting week. A lot has developed in these past 2 weeks, and the news that we got, some very league-changing news, especially in fantasy leagues that I'm excited to get into.
Yeah, so today we're going to be talking like news and notes as always. It is the start of bye weeks, so unfortunately, I hate that it has to come to this already. But bye weeks are upon us. And then our big topic of the day is we're going to talk about, is it time to change how we view fantasy drafts? The NFL landscape is changing. I feel like the fantasy draft landscape should be changing as well. And we have seen it already, which I'll get more into later. But first of all, we'll start off with the news and notes. Michael Thomas is likely to return in week 6. So today we just got a report that he did not practice in, or he did not participate in practice. So it feels kind of weird that they say he's likely to return, but he's not practicing yet. Since he hasn't practiced for like the past 2 weeks, you would think that he almost needs to get that Wednesday practice in to play, but who knows?
It's scary, especially with, of course, as we all know, his past injury history. It takes him a while to recover. So if I had a my best bet is that he won't play this week. But if he does, I mean, hey, that's a maybe a flex spot if you're affected by the bye weeks. But if you're not affected by any of the bye weeks, then I'll just sit him out.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have the confidence to play him coming off an injury right away. But I mean, week one, what did he have? Like 2 touchdowns right off the bat. So I guess maybe you're kind of playing your luck if he does have that again or not. Unfortunately, Rashad Penny will be out for the year. Kenneth Walker season though, so I'm glad to see what he can do. But it's just unfortunate. Rashad Penny just been dealing with injuries his whole career. He finally showed out at the end of last season. People were not really investing too much in him because he was like a mid-round pick in fantasy drafts, but hopeful that he could keep that going again this year. He showed it for like 1 week, and now he's back on the injured reserve.
Now, I don't know what you mean by not a lot of people were investing in him. I was investing him in every fantasy draft I could. I was excited for him to get him in the middle rounds because I saw what he did in the few weeks in the end of the season last year, and I loved it. And Geno Smith, I mean, I didn't expect him to be this good, but in that offense, yeah, I didn't start him in most of my leagues though, because I didn't see that startable quality production, in which led me to bench him during his best week. And then the following week, as most Rashad Penny owners probably did, they put him in the flex and then he got hurt. So a very unfortunate circumstance for Rashad Penny, but Ken Walker, he is the guy there. And I'm excited, especially in that high scoring offense.
Yeah, I'm hopeful he can do something. They drafted him early for a reason. They drafted him early second round. So dynasty owners will see what he can do. If he can start catching passes, he's going to jump up to be one of those top dynasty running backs. I feel like because like he is known for his rushing ability, but if he can also catch passes, like watch out. That'd be great. Next up, Panthers have finally fired Matt Rule. Um, yeah, that that team has just not been good.
Free
Uh,
DJ Moore.
yeah, free DJ Moore. Apparently, there's a lot of teams calling the Panthers now, seeing if they're wanting to rebuild completely, get rid of some of their younger assets or older assets. There was a report going around about the Bills reaching out about Christian McCaffrey. That was apparently false. Um,
Oh,
Unfortunately, that would have been great. Like Oh, Chris McCaffrey on the Bills. Like, could you imagine? That'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, Devin Singletary owners with that brief, very brief experience of happiness of him being in the lineups and him doing something like more than what they expected. But nope, sadly, McCaffrey is still stuck with Baker Mayfield.
Well, speaking of Baker Mayfield, he had a high ankle sprain, so he is expected to miss a few weeks. Um, and I find it weird that they're saying that apparently PJ Walker would be next in line, not Sam Darnold. But hey, it's the
I
Panthers. I
think,
mean, at this point, just go for top 5 pick and get one of those young quarterbacks.
yeah, I actually kind of like the move for starting PJ Walker. Give him a chance to see if he produces as the same at the same level as Baker Mayfield, possibly more. I don't think they're expecting him to go above and beyond as a backup, but Sam Darnold, they're ready to get rid of that experiment and move on. So
Yeah, they already
uh,
know what they got.
I have to do a little bit more research on what PJ Walker has done on that Panthers team, who his favorite targets were. But
Yeah. Yeah, he
I
did play a few games last year, so gotta look
oh,
back.
maybe we'll see a DJ Moore resurgence. Who knows?
Please, please, I'm begging. Damian Harris is likely to miss multiple games with a hamstring injury. Ramondre Stevenson time. Finally, Ramondre season is here. I'd be starting him everywhere I can this week. Like, he's a smash start while Harris is out.
Especially against the Browns run defense.
Yep.
They haven't been doing that well this season. Ramondre Stevenson in that I don't even know if it's gonna be a committee. It might be, but we haven't seen Strong or JJ Taylor. Who else is on that roster? I
I
don't
mean,
know,
the
but
rest got hurt. Like Ty Montgomery, he got hurt way back when.
mhm.
Damian Harris is now hurt. So it's just kind of like the committee that was is now all hurt, except for Ramondre. So it should just be Ramondre's team.
And you should have bought Ramondre Stevenson after the Ty Montgomery injury because Ty Montgomery
Yes.
that first week he received all those targets, got hurt, out for the season. You should have expected Ramondre Stevenson to see an increased role after that and potentially surpassing Damian Harris. Now he doesn't have to try to outperform Harris. He has now inherited that role because of Harris's injury. And I think the window's closed. He has RB1 upside, I believe, for the rest of the season.
Yeah, he definitely does. Especially, it depends a lot on how long Damian Harris is out. But if Harris is out for an extended period of time, so good from Ramondre. Corey Clements got signed to the Cardinals practice squad after pretty much the whole Cardinals running back room got hurt. Daryl Williams is already out for this next week. James Conner is questionable. To me, Eno Benjamin is a good spot start, especially with the bye weeks going on. If you're in desperate need of running back help, I would be fine with starting him this week.
Yeah, I have no issues. I mean, he ran pretty well last game, I thought. At least from the couple of times I've seen him run on my TV. But yeah, he's a good fill-in. I Corey Clement, maybe I keep an eye on him, not necessarily this week, but it's interesting to see them try to build back that running back room.
I just feel like it's mostly because they already know Daryl Williams is going to miss time that they're just getting another body in there. Because if what happens again this next week, James Conner and Eno Benjamin go down, who's the running back? They don't really have
Well,
anybody else.
Kyler Murray.
I wish they would run Kyler more than they did, but
Just
they
run
don't.
empty. All they gotta do is just run empty the whole
Yeah,
game. Once D Hop comes back soon, just run empty
just
set. You
run
got
empty
Marquise
set.
Brown, D Hop, Rondale Moore. You don't need to run the
Zach
ball.
Ertz. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, Zach Ertz, yeah.
Dolphins are preparing to start Skylar Thompson this week. Tua, I saw that. I believe he's back at practice now in a very limited capacity. Teddy Bridgewater's in concussion protocol, even though they said that he passed the test last week. So not sure what's going on there. But I know with the optics going around the Dolphins organization right now, they're going to be more cautious than any other team is going to be. So if Skylar Thompson plays, kind of unfortunate for Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, but they have shown that they can play with multiple quarterbacks. I'm not like like panicking or anything with it.
Is it Teddy Bridgewater's shoulder that's still bothering him,
Oh, that could
or
be
is
it
it
then. Yeah.
okay? Because I know he hurt
Okay.
his shoulder and he got a minor concussion, but yeah, I Skylar Thompson does scare me for uh
It
any
says he's
fantasy
still in the
player.
concussion protocol.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I saw the clip of him after the hit, and
Yeah.
they said that he experienced that whatever symptom you get with
Wobbliness or something. Yeah.
yeah, the wobbliness. And I saw the clip after he got hit. He did not show that.
I gotta say I didn't see it either, but and it also says here Mike McDaniel even said that Bridgewater will be the backup if he's cleared to play, which is super odd to me, but he's
They
the
might
coach.
they might want to see that Rook play because I don't think Teddy Bridgewater's contract is
Yeah.
long. I think it's only 1 year. So Skylar Thompson, you got him for the next 3 years after this one. So might as well figure out what you got in the Rook and
I
want
understand
to
that, but
keep
at the
him.
same time, like if they were 4-1, I would understand that. But it's like, what are they, 2-3 or 3-2 or something like that? They're not really like.
I think they're 3-2. They lost their second game to the Jets, I believe.
So it's kind of like I don't know. It just feels weird that they're not like in a very good position to where they can see what they have right now. They should be more focused on trying to win. And I feel like Teddy Bridgewater would give them a better chance than a late round rookie.
I agree with that, especially in the AFC East
Mm-hmm.
when you're looking up at the Bills and
Yep.
what they just did to the Steelers.
Yeah.
That is something. I mean, they did beat the Bills, so they have the up on the tiebreaker, but I don't see the Bills slowing down either. So got to keep up.
Um, undefeated Cooper Rush is going to start again. This is what happened whenever Dak Prescott took over for Tony Romo. So, I mean, I've seen a lot of people like saying, "Oh, Cooper Rush might take over for Dak yet," which I still don't think's going to happen. Dak's been paid for a reason. He's going to be the guy whenever he gets back. But you get another week, Cooper Rush.
It's so funny because they're doing like that. It's that defense. That
Yes,
defense is winning in their games. It's not Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush just happens to be a game manager
I guess
sitting in the
he's a pretty
quarterback
solid,
position.
like he's a solid like backup quarterback, but he's not somebody that I want to start for a full season.
Yeah, like what did he do last game? Throw 11 for 16 and 170 yards. You don't think Dak Prescott can do that on a typical day? Like that he was a Pro Bowler, right? He's a Pro Bowler quarterback. You want him in when you have him healthy. Like not just game manage. You want to win games on offense
Mhm.
when there comes a time when you're facing a team with a stronger offense to sort of offset your strength on the defense. And you're going to need to keep up. You're not going to keep up with Cooper Rush.
Yeah, no.
And he got fortunate with that great defense, and the defense is playing very well. You start Dak when you can, but clearly he's not healthy yet.
Yeah, Cooper Rush had a solid 4 fantasy points last week, and the
Oh yeah,
Cowboys won, which is nuts.
Cooper Rush is definitely going to start over Dak when he's back, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
it's
totally.
that same situation with Tony Romo. My God,
I've seen people say that. I'm just like, this is not the same situation whatsoever.
no.
Devonte Adams is facing a possible suspension. He's already been fined with, or he's been charged with a misdemeanor for pushing over the cameraman that ran into him. He was very frustrated after that loss to the Chiefs on Monday night and got caught pushing someone out of his way. Um, Sucks because he is on the bye this week, and if he gets suspended the next week, you're going to have him. You're going to be without him 2 weeks in a row. which is unfortunate, but it could happen.
Yeah, if you drafted Devonte Adams, though, you knew you were gonna miss him out this week, but the extra week does hurt if it happens. I know I was just watching some Rich Eisen show recaps on YouTube before I hopped on, and I watched that video of him talking what he believes should happen, and he's like, you just can't push over. That's what he said. You just can't push over somebody with media credentials. You just can't. That's bad for the NFL
I gotta say,
product.
you're just pushing over someone who's trying to do their job.
Yeah,
It's like I know I've seen the videos. Like, yeah, part of it was on the cameraman. He did kind of walk right in front of him and bump into him, but that doesn't mean you should push them over because they're bumping into you.
you do like what every normal person does when they're walking on the sidewalk in a crowded
Yep.
city. You just like kind of tap them on the shoulder and just kind of like guide them away. Just kind of give them like a follow through, right? Like you're following through with the basketball. Just kind of like push it right where you think it needs to go, and they'll move out the way. You don't need to full steam ahead, bull rush them and push them over like you're George Pickens on the line of scrimmage. No, you don't do that.
I will say my favorite tweet that I saw from all this was, I don't know if you saw the angle yet, but did you see the angle behind Devonte?
I think I did, yeah.
Yeah, so they got video of like behind Devonte where you can like kind of see more, like the cameraman just kind of came out of nowhere, which I understand that part, all that. But someone responded, yeah, from this angle, it doesn't even look like he pushed him. I'm like, I'm like, everybody has seen the bird's eye view where he clearly pushed him. Like you can still see the shove slightly in that back angle, but I was like, I don't know. I don't know what you're seeing, but he definitely shoved.
There's a reason why he is charged for this, and not like if he didn't push him, yeah, you get the point anyway.
Yeah.
But for fantasy owners, expect him to be out for the next 2 weeks. Hopefully he gets back to normal.
I gotta say, I don't know if it necessarily warranted a suspension per se. Like a fine, definitely a fine.
Mm-hmm.
But suspension, it kind of seems like it's borderline to me because, like, just because it wasn't serious injury doesn't mean it's right. But it was just kind of a shove type thing. We've seen players do stuff like that, just get a fine. To me, I feel like that the NFL wants to make a note to the rest of the league, hey, you can't do this. So they're going to suspend Devonte just to tell the rest of the league, hey, don't be like shoving credential members, don't be shoving like anybody on the sideline just because like they accidentally bumped into you.
And I'm looking at the week 7 bye teams. So if you're a Devonte Adams owner and you are out if he ends up getting suspended, the Buffalo Bills, Los Angeles Rams, Minnesota Vikings, Philadelphia Eagles. Those all have Stephon Diggs, Cooper Kupp, Justin Jefferson, AJ Brown.
That's a lot of
star power. If you went doubling with wide receivers, you most likely have Devonte Adams and one of these guys on your team.
Like I'm sure there's a lot of teams that have Stephon Diggs and Devonte Adams because they're both going around that like 1 to 2 turn area. So I could see a lot of people that went like Diggs, Adams, like at the back of the first, second.
And that's what kind of our episode's going to be about today.
So. Yeah, no kidding. Real quick before we get to our funny topic of the day, Taysom Hill. We want to talk about Taysom Hill because he is a very hot topic going around right now. First of all, I want to ask you this because I don't know if you know. So Taysom Hill, he's listed as a tight end fantasy football net. Mm-hmm. In some places he's listed as quarterback and tight end, but for everybody is pretty much tight end right now. I want you to guess, do you think he has over or under 10 targets right now? That would be 2 a game so far.
Under.
Okay, how about 5? It was under 10. How about 5?
My guess is he has 2 targets on the season. That's like my guess is he has 2 targets.
He has 1.
Oh my god, that's.
He has 1, and he's tight end.
It.
Yeah, and he's tight end 7 on 1 target.
Be higher than tight end 7, but
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, so tight end 7 on one target. Taysom Hill, like I know we talked about him multiple times on this show, but he's just kind of like a unicorn. He's just very weird. He can play a lot of different positions. When he's on the field, he's probably getting the ball. But the thing is you don't know how many times he's going to be on the field any given week. This past week, he was on the field quite a bit. He threw a pass, um, threw a touchdown pass. Like he ran for a few touchdowns. It's, all in all, it's just you don't like he's going to be inconsistent. Does he have high upside? Yes, but he could give you a 0 any given week as well. You just really don't know.
It's so confusing because that 0 week, you're mad if you start him at tight end. Excuse me. But if you're in a tight end premium league and he goes off for that 30 points, you are just if you're facing against him, you are just smashing your head on the wall. Like, why in the hell is our league a tight end premium league?
Well, the thing is with tight end premium, that normally means that they get like more points per reception, but he only has one of
Okay.
those. And so it's like doesn't really help whenever he's
Yeah, I
running
mean, I
in.
never been in a tight end premium league, so I just thought it was like a little extra boost on the points that they
Oh,
scored.
yeah. Yeah,
So,
no. So for those out there that don't know tight end premium is normally like, so say in your half point per reception league or a full point per reception league. The tight end premium usually gives either 1.5 to 2 points per reception to the tight end position. So it's really more dependent on receptions than anything else. So like Travis Kelsey, since he got like 7 receptions this past week, he would have got an extra. He could have got up to 14 points just off of that in a tight end premium league, or he could have got like it really depends on what league settings you guys go with, but for the most part, tight end premium means you just get an extra couple points per reception.
now I propose this to you. Do you think Taysom Hill should stay listed as a tight end, or for strictly fantasy purposes, he is listed under the position of flex, and you can only play him at the flex position?
To me, he's not a tight end. Um, like flex, I feel like just explains him in total. I know I saw someone tweeted, I forget who tweeted. I wish I remembered so I could shout him out. But they listed where his snaps have been played. He plays a majority of his snaps on special teams. So like, so in reality, he should be a DST. But I mean, which would be
DST is getting
hilarious.
30 points.
I mean, that'd be hilarious if he could play Taysom Hill as a DST. But yeah, it's just super weird. I mean, like it's so weird because it's like I mean I can understand why you put him at tight end, but at the same time I don't
Mm-hmm.
because it's like he's not really playing as a tight end. He's playing as a running back. He's playing as a quarterback. Yeah, I don't know.
It's
If I
weird.
had
I
to
don't
choose,
think.
I'd
Oh,
probably
you could
choose.
say.
I gotta say, if I had to choose, I'd probably choose the flex option, just because I feel like that more fits what he is.
Yeah, what I was about to say is I don't think the NFL is gonna. I mean, it's just so hard for the fantasy to adapt, other than place him at tight end. Like there's, like you said, there's no. He plays everywhere, and I think tight ends the right now is the perfect place to put him since he's such a risk reward guy that if you play him at tight end, there isn't that many high scoring tight ends. But if he drops like 2 points, your typical tight end scores six. Like if you don't have Travis Kelsey, well, you don't have like those top three, four guys that score like 6 points, right? That's only a 6 point difference on that. It's yeah, unless more teams start incorporating players like Taysom Hill, I think he's just gonna stay as a tight end.
I gotta say, I'm fine with it, especially because the Saints list him as a tight end. So I mean, that definitely makes it way more understandable keeping a tight end because that's what the Saints have him as.
Oh, and also one more thing. One more thing. This will be quick. I don't believe Taysom Hill is a long-term asset on your fantasy football team.
Yeah.
He's a short-term. next couple of weeks. Jameis Winston's recovering from injury. Once he gets back, he had that 1 week, and that was week 1 with Taysom Hill with the scoring and whatnot. And then the following weeks, he dropped big goose eggs. So I don't think he is someone on your team that's worth, if you are somewhat comfortable with tight end, he's not worth rostering. Try trading him to a team that's so desperate for a tight end that may give you a solid bench player. He's just not worth it.
Yeah, if you could get like would you trade Tate? I'm sure you would, but would you trade Taysom Hill for like a Raheem Mostert?
Raheem Mostert's a big sell for me right now. Like I'm ready to kind of part ways with him for how well he's been doing over expected. But yeah, I'll take Raheem Mostert.
Yeah, I gotta say, I feel like I'm taking Raheem Mostert there.
Plus, he's a running back, so
yeah,
I'm taking that.
Yeah. So for our funny topic of the week, Drew Lock is nipping at Geno Smith's heels, according to head coach Pete Carroll. I saw a tweet. I know I told Theo this before we started the show, but I saw a tweet that said Drew Lock is more likely to be on the ground actually biting Geno Smith's heel than he is talent-wise, as Geno Smith has been, which is kind of true. I mean, I just don't see how Drew Lock could be close to where Geno's at right now.
Geno Smith is playing like a top 10 quarterback in fantasy and in real life. How? Like, Drew Lock is not singing Jeezy on the bench. That's what he's going to be doing for the rest of the season. How Geno Smith's been playing on the Seahawks. No, like, I don't know why Pete Carroll would say this. Like, it doesn't.
I gotta say, what is the point for saying it even? Like, I don't understand it. But Pete Carroll's Pete Carroll.
My guess is that a reporter asked about Drew Lock and his progression. I haven't seen the audio or heard the audio of Pete Carroll saying it. He may have said it sarcastically.
I guess it might not be in full context either.
Yeah, might be taken out of context, but it's still a funny storyline to hear about.
Because like talking about like that out of context stuff, it's like whenever Ron Rivera was like, "Oh, what's like going wrong with the team compared to the division?" And he said quarterback, but I know he said multiple times since then that he kind of said it the wrong way, but he was like more like talking about like the other teams could more build around a certain quarterback, and the Commanders have been unable to, which they have, to be fair, but at the same time, Carson Wentz is not doing them like any favors, though he is better than some of the other players on that team right now because that team is not great.
Yeah, the Cowboys bring in Cooper Rush, and you have, I don't know, like, did the Cowboys build their team around Cooper Rush? No, they're still winning games.
Yeah, they're undefeated with him.
Lame excuse by Ron Rivera, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. They yeah, you just pretty much kind of threw Carson Wentz under the bus because, I mean, coaching is just such a big part of like team success because it's like you look at the Giants. Daniel Jones has been there for a while, and now with Brian Daboll, they're doing pretty good. 4-1, 5-1, whatever it is. 4-1.
The roster has quite a bit of holes in it too.
They have like no wide receivers. All their wide receivers are gone. Like,
well, Kenny Galladay's still there, but in spirit,
is he a wide receiver?
In spirit, he is. All right.
Oh man. But like we said, bye weeks are upon us. The bye weeks this week, we got the Lions, the Texans, the Raiders, and the Titans. So you got Josh Jacobs, you got Derrick Henry, you got DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams, Amon-Ra, TJ Hawkinson, Brandon Cooks, Damian Pierce, a bunch of guys out there. Devonte Adams, of course, like we mentioned before. So a lot of bye weeks that you're going to have to find replacements more. But yeah, it's that time of the season. Here we go.
Where you test your depth.
Yes.
Especially next week, after reading the teams that are happening next week, that's a real testament of how well you have built your team.
Yeah, be prepared for next week. Get prepared early. So our big topic of the day: should there be a change in draft strategies moving forward? This is kind of a thing that I've been talking about with Theo for like the past couple weeks. It just seems like the fantasy football landscape is starting to change, um, just because like the whole NFL landscape is changing. It's more pass happy, it's more quarterback oriented, and we're seeing less of the running back. We're seeing less value. And starting off, I want to just say like averaging 15 points per game this year, we have running backs only 12. That'd be only one full round of running backs that are averaging 15 points per game. Wide receivers, we got 21. That's almost double. Like it's just crazy to me on how like running backs used to be valued so much, and now it seems like there's like 3 or 4 guys this year that are valued kind of like that, and the rest are just kind of devalued.
I'm smiling over here because I just kind of realized what can of worms we opened. I think we're about to spit a lot of zero running back propaganda in the next couple of minutes. It's
I gotta say, I'm not saying like I'm going to wait till like round 6, round 7 next year to draft a running back. Like I
yeah,
still am going to be drafting one running back in the first couple of rounds, but it's I feel like I used to be so like, oh, I'm going to draft 2 running backs in my first like 4 rounds, and now I'm kind of like maybe I shouldn't. Like maybe I won't. Um, it's just kind of a weird situation going on. But to me, it seems like right now, like the top end quarterbacks, the top end tight ends, and wide receivers just seem more valuable than like the average running back. Like, yeah, there's still you got Saquon Barkley, you got Nick Chubb that are doing great, but it's like you look at Christian McCaffrey and he's not really the same Christian McCaffrey that he was. He's still good. He's still good. He's still doing you good as your running back one, but he's not great. He's not elite. And you're getting still like Cooper Kupp still doing great. He's still elite. Justin Jefferson, he's elite. Like these guys that were projected to be the top wide receivers are doing that. And the running backs are just not. Because like I know I didn't want like as a Colts fan, like my hottest take of the year was like Jonathan Taylor won't be top 5 running back. What is he now? Like running back 30? Which I mean, gotta be fair, he did miss a game. So that's why he's dropped down the rankings a bit. But still, he hasn't been the same Jonathan Taylor that you were drafting for.
and I want to go through sleep. This is I just pulled up Fantasy Pros ADP list heading into this season. And I just want to point out how much of a coin flip the top 12 running backs
Yeah.
were. So Jonathan Taylor,
You'd be
thumbs down.
disappointed.
If I'll give a thumbs up, thumbs down to how I would rate these players as of right now if you draft them. So Jonathan Taylor, down. Caffrey, Derrick Henry, I'll give thumbs up. Austin Eckler, just in these past couple of weeks, I like what I'm seeing. A little bit of recency bias, thumbs up. Dalvin Cook, it's a very close one. I'd go thumbs up. I'd go thumbs up. I mean, he's gonna be when you're a little bit more consistent. Najee Harris, down. Joe Mixon. What would you say about Joe Mixon?
Joe Mixon is so tough. God.
I'm gonna say it. From what I expected,
Yeah, probably from what I expected, I would say down. I mean, he's still been solid, but he's
yeah.
putting up more running back 2 numbers than he is running back 1.
DeAndre Swift, although he's hurt, I'm giving a thumbs up. I'm not giving up on him. I know Jamal Williams is kind of being a touchdown vulture, but the production that he was receiving when he was in, that's RB1 quality. I'll thumbs up that pick. Number 9 ADP, Aaron Jones. I'd say down. Sadly, Alvin Kamara. He had a good week. Down, not playing like it. And the last two in the top 12. Saquon Barkley, of course. Nick Chubb, of course.
Of course, yep.
And that's right in the second round. So, I mean, if you were to redraft all these running backs, I'd say the only first round picks would be Nick Chubb, Saquon, Christian McCaffrey. And if you were like at the 12 spot and you love drafting running backs, Derrick Henry and Austin Eckler.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I'm going to actually talk a little bit more about that here in a bit, but so I already mentioned averaging 15 points per game in PPR, running backs 12, wide receivers 21. Averaging 20 points per game in PPR. This is closer, running backs 3, wide receivers 5. But it's still, for how much we valued running backs going into the season, there's more wide receivers right now than there is running backs. So Underdog currently is doing another kind of, they called it a resurrection draft, to where you can draft for the rest of the season. It's best ball. But I went back and looked going into the season what their rankings were, like their ADP was then and what it is now. So before the season, top 12, so this is the first round, we had 7 running backs and 5 wide receivers. I know me and Theo mentioned we had like 4 running backs at the top 20, like in the top 12 running backs that we would maybe take again in the first round, like 4 to 5. And there was 7 taken in the first round. 5 wide receivers. I mean, you got your Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs, Justin Jefferson, Devonte Adams type, which have all been good. Jamar Chase as well. Jamar has been kind of disappointing, but he's still been
the last
solid.
2 weeks, yeah.
Yeah. And currently, top 12 sits 4 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 3 quarterbacks, and 2 tight ends. People have seen just the point differences, the advantages that you get with having these top 3 quarterbacks in Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, and Lamar Jackson with their rushing upside, and have seen the positional advantage that you get by having Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews. We looked earlier, the difference between Josh Allen and the 5th-ranked quarterback, Kyler Murray, is 50 points in 5 weeks. That's over 10 points per game, which is crazy. Tight ends.
Can I ask you this real quick? So the order, the ADP then and now with the best ball drafts, like the redrafts, said 4 running backs, 3 wide receivers, 3 quarterbacks, 2 tight ends in that top 12 first round. Would you have 4 running backs, 3 wide receivers, and 2 tight ends in the first round next year? So I'm omitting the quarterbacks because you should not draft a quarterback in the first round.
Yeah, no.
But should that ratio be somewhat the same heading into next year, especially with the 2 tight ends? Because I know that's Mark Andrews and Travis Kelce.
Right. I gotta say, yeah, I feel like the 2 tight ends could stay in there, but I feel like people still will feel the need of running back. I still feel like, but I think it's going to get closer to a 50-50 split than like a 70-30 that we've been seeing. Because like I still think people are wanting their running backs. They still want their top end running backs. People are going to draft them earlier than they need to. It's going to take time for people to realize that wide receivers are probably more valuable than running backs. But eventually we will get there. It's just going to be a slow process, I feel like. But yeah, so tight ends, Travis Kelce has like 111 points, and the 3rd tight end is TJ Hawkinson, who had 1 great week, 1 average week, and that was about it. Um,
Such a
and
dry.
he
You
had
say
like
it every time. You say
60
it every
some
time.
points. Yeah,
Such a dry position.
yeah. Travis Kelsey is like almost doubling the third tight end. So it's yeah. And then the top 24 in ADP. So before the season, there were 13 running backs, 8 wide receivers, 2 tight ends, and 1 quarterback. 1 quarterback obviously being Josh Allen, the 2 tight ends being the same, Travis Kelsey and Mark Andrews. Um, Currently, top 24, 7 running backs, 11 wide receivers, 4 quarterbacks, and 2 tight ends. So 2 tight ends stay the same. They're both taking the first round instead of the second round right now. But the numbers on the wide receivers and running backs kind of flipped. Because before the season, it was 13 running backs, and now it's 11 wide receivers. And before the season, it was 8 wide receivers, now it's 7 running backs. Now, a couple more quarterbacks came into the play in ADP instead of before, but I mean, that's kind of like changing up the numbers a bit, but it's kind of flipped the script midseason. Currently, like the top 24, top 2 rounds is what people were drafting in the first round, like before the season. Because before the season, 7 running backs drafted. Currently, in the top 2 rounds, 7 running backs drafted. So I feel like we're kind of getting there. People are realizing it now midseason that, hey, we need to get these wide receivers. Like I'm looking at the ADP list right now, 1 and 2, wide receivers. No
Who is
running
it?
back is
Cup
going
and Cup and Diggs for the first 2.
Cup and Jefferson.
Cup and Jeffs. That's fair.
Top 5, 3 wide receivers, 1 running back, 1 quarterback.
Yeah, it should change. The method is outdated, and this season proves it. I mean, I guess I can see where people come from, and where you say, okay, but the running backs, like the averaging 20 points, like the 20 points per game, right?
Yeah.
You only have 3 of them,
Mm-hmm.
right? Compared to 5. I know there's only a 2-player difference, but for how the league has been going, the trajectory of the league, it's I bet you'll see that wide receiver number continue to grow and that running backs number probably shrink
And
to
I feel
like
like, yeah, I feel like the biggest point to me with like that like points per game thing is that like the top like those top 5 wide receivers are all wide receivers that were drafted high. And running backs, it was not like the same. Which
like
I
I
mean,
said
yeah,
with
top 2 rounds, but like, yeah.
yeah,
Either
like
way,
what I
you're
said with Saquon, Nick Chubb. But an interesting thought process is with the scarcity at running back, would it be a strategy to kind of collect as many as you can and hope that one hits? I wouldn't find it efficient,
see,
but
that's another thing that I wanted to touch base on. I didn't
okay.
write this in our notes, but in one of my leagues, there was a team that went first 5 rounds, 5 running backs. And you got to think, hey, they're going to hit like at least on 1, probably 2, maybe more. Their running backs, they have Dalvin Cook, which we said pretty good pick. They have Saquon Barkley, good pick.
Great pick.
Travis Etienne hasn't been good. But they
No,
also have
yeah.
Brees Hall. Brees Hall's been good. And Damian Pierce, who has been good. Guess what their
Even though
record
he
is?
said
Yeah.
even though he said Damian Pierce was not a good pick in the
Yeah.
fifth round, but
Yeah. That's on us.
my guess at their record is probably the same record as all of my fantasy teams are basically right now, which is 1-4.
They're 0-5,
Ooh.
winless by grabbing those running backs. And that's because by the time that they drafted all those running backs, wide receiver landscape dried up. They're wide receivers that they drafted. Juju Smith-Schuster, not good. Alan Lazard, solid but not great. Elijah Moore, not good. Robert Woods, not good. It's just we kind of hit that point to where, like, I feel like the best strategy moving forward is getting one of those top running backs and then go wide receiver, tight end, quarterback heavy. Just kind of the running back two, just kind of plug and play guys. Like a Kareem Hunt, I'd be totally fine plugging as my running back two. If that means that I can have like a Stephon Diggs and like say you started like your team this year was Saquon Barkley, Stephon Diggs, and let me find a good one here. AJ Brown or Mark Andrews. Like I feel like that's a better team than going like Christian McCaffrey, Leonard Fournette, and Keenan Allen. Which obviously
Yeah,
Keenan Allen's been hurt, but kind of get what I'm saying.
it's weird because you could totally flip that whole narrative and say, well, because there's more wide receivers that are producing higher numbers, it makes sense to draft them later since there's a greater quantity of them. There's not enough running backs, so you want to draft them earlier. But then, as you said, that doesn't necessarily work out when you do only running backs and try your luck on hitting them. Like just see if
I
you get
gotta
like
say
an
because
RB3.
yeah,
It's such a flip-flop situation where people can have different perspectives while looking at the same stats. It's just the fact that I think a lot of fantasy team it also depends on how your league is built. If you have a one running back, two wide receiver, I think it's more. Of course, you're going to draft more wide receivers, but I'd definitely go wide receiver early. And I'm thinking in future fantasy drafts, I'm going to start going wide receiver early too, just because running backs get hurt often. You see,
oh,
like Jonathan Taylor, he was in a very run heavy, like those running backs that are on teams that are like pass, not necessarily pass heavy, but like to pass the ball. So like Jonathan Taylor, I know last year he was on a more run heavy team, and over the offseason you've heard that they're gonna add more passes. That should immediately bump him down like off the first round. And I know we said that he wasn't gonna be a top 5 running back, which was we're gonna eat that up all season. But like other players, I guess, Aaron Jones, uh Najee Harris. I mean, Najee Harris is always a run heavy team. That's just a weird scenario. But also like the running backs that have always proven that they have been the guy on offense, like Christian McCaffrey. Like, of course he's gonna go in the first round, right? But those wide receivers in that as the NFL gets more pass heavy, it just makes sense that they start filling up the first round because all those running backs, it's not 100% like how their offense is going to look, but the average NFL team is passing more. So it just sort of makes sense to kind of follow the NFL with that trend. All right, you're passing more. Why should I draft more running backs? I mean, yeah, they take up a spot on your fantasy team and you have to play them. But those teams that love to pass, like Stephon Diggs, Justin Jefferson, Cooper Kupp, those should arguably they should have all have been in the top 6. I mean,
yeah.
I know 20 like hindsight is 2020, but it
I
just
gotta
makes
say, I know like us personally, I know like before the season we had like Justin Jefferson ranked before like the running back 3. Like I know we talked about this before, like how Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey 1, 2, and then wide receiver either Cooper Kupp or Justin Jefferson before like an Austin Eck or Derrick Henry type player. But it seems like to me it should be more of that. Like we shouldn't be relying as heavy on running back as what we currently do. To me,
I
because
agree.
I know you kind of wrote down some notes, and maybe we can talk about for a bit. But it's like Damian Pierce went late in drafts. Like if you had like say you started off with like Justin Jefferson and Stephon Diggs, like Damian Pierce will be great as your running back one at that point. Like he's doing good enough, and those wide receivers are going off. Like Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews, like if you can get that positional advantage, like you can tell it makes a difference in your leagues where you got those guys. Like you just don't have to worry about the tight end position. Quarterback, while I don't think 3 quarterbacks are going the first round next year, I don't think a quarterback is going the first round next year. I do think maybe we should consider drafting those top end guys earlier. Because like I've always been a guy, oh, let's just wait on quarterbacks till later. Because at that point, quarterback between like 5 and 12 was not much of a difference. Now it is. Now it's a bigger difference than what I originally thought. Luckily, I was able to get like Jalen Hurts everywhere because Jalen Hurts was being drafted as like quarterback 7 behind like Russell Wilson and stuff. But like, we need to be potentially targeting like those high upside rushing quarterbacks earlier than what we have been thinking, just to get kind of that positional advantage.
You shouldn't say that because that's my strategy. That's I put all
That's
of
my
like the
strategy with
rushing
you.
upside guys up on top. It just I don't know. It's like you get 0.04 points per passing yards, and you get 0.1 point per rushing yard. It's math. It's a greater percentage. Those
They just
rushing
have such a safer
quarterbacks.
floor. Like,
Like if those rushing quarterbacks get like 52 rushing yards, and I don't know, they don't have the greatest performance, that's an easy 8 points. If a running back gets 52 rushing yards, that's 5 points. I mean, you already have a 3-point difference right there.
right, yeah. But anyway, yeah, I know it's a lot of like rambling and stuff, but I'm not saying it's going to be a quick change. I'm not saying that we should be doing it right away, but I think that we need to start considering going into next year about how maybe we should change how we think about drafts. Maybe we shouldn't be so focused on the running back position. Because while yes, having Saquon Barkley would be great, like if you drafted Jonathan Taylor first overall, you got to wait all the way to round 2 to get a wide receiver tight end. Maybe it doesn't turn out as good for you. It seems like it's just been a constant trend. I know I mentioned it before. Priest Holmes was the last to do it. The running back 1 never repeats. Hasn't repeated in a long time, and it just seems like that cycle just continues.
I got nothing else to say. I wish I could touch on the handcuff, but I think we're closing in on time.
Yeah, we're probably about then. a lot of talking to do. But yeah, anyways, you guys let us know your thoughts. Either tell us on Twitter, leave a comment down below. Whatever you guys think, I'd love to hear it because to me, this is just an opinion of mine. I feel like that we need to change with the landscape of the NFL with how we have seen it. But if you guys have a different opinion, I'd love to hear it. I love hearing different opinions because guess what? I'm not always right. I said in the offseason stuff about Geno Smith that I didn't like that Seahawks offense. Guess what? It's doing pretty good. So I'm not always right. Theo's not always right. Nobody's ever always right. So I want to hear everybody's opinion on it if you got an opinion on it. But yeah, subscribe, like the video, comment down below your thoughts. Anyways, hope you had a good day, good evening, good morning, whenever it is you're watching this. And until next week, we'll see you guys.